Welcome to the third season of Heard Afros and Audio interview series. My guest today is DeMarcus Brewster. How are you?
I'm great, brother. I just want to say it's an honor, man, to come drop gems and share my knowledge on your platform. I'm glad to be here, brother. Appreciate it.
I'm glad you're here, man. So I want to jump right in. And what inspired you to start Seeking Knowledge podcast? And how does the podcast reflect your personal journey of growth and transformation?
That's a good question because what started me, like my life, what I went through, what I overcame, and I use my podcast to inspire others, encourage others, to give them hope. That's why if you listen to my podcast, I give inspiration, but I share a piece of my story in every message.
All right. And how has it, your own personal journey, what has changed for you since you started?
Like the growth, like as I can see, I'm on season 23. When I first started, I didn't really have no guidance. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew in my mind what I wanted to do. And now, since I'm on the 23rd season, and my wife, she's my co-host now, and she gave me inspiration. She was like, "Look, baby, I know you love podcasts, but you should do it like this." It was like, you should do the introduction, drop the message, then let people know what you got going on so they can really get the message instead of hearing what you got going on. Then some people have a short attention span. So I just say I've grown because she gave me gems on how she like, baby, do it this way. But as far as my growth, like my podcast inspired me because like just hearing my message, wow, I can't believe how you go through something and you talk about it, but it don't really hit you until you hear it again. And I have grown, like all the stuff I overcame, man. If you go to season 1 to season 23 of my podcast, you will see my growth. Like when I first started, I used to be smoking on my podcast, but now I don't smoke or drink anymore. So it's now I have a clear conscience and I really know what I'm saying. It make the message more better since I'm sober now.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate everything that you spoke about. First of all, congratulations on season 23, man. That's major.
Thank you, sir.
And a lot of people don't make it to two
Yeah,
or three, right? So the fact that you made it to season 23, when did you start?
maybe 2 years ago.
Wow.
And
So 23 seasons, how many episodes did you put in the season?
when I first started, I don't really know how many I started, but now I do 33 episodes each season. And I've been doing that for the
Oh,
last couple
wow.
seasons.
Okay. So your drops have to be pretty back to back. How did you choose that format
That's
for
a good
yourself?
question. Like I used to just see my podcasts are authentic, so I might just be sitting and be like, somebody hit my conscience, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to speak on it because I can relate to that." But usually I upload something like every day. But now since I'm so busy, like I work a 9 to 5 too, I just drop like every other day. But that's how I got so many episodes. I don't let a week go by without me putting nothing on there.
That's what's up. And again, I that was a curious question of mine because you got 23 seasons in such a short period of time, but it speaks to the fact that this is your platform and that you did it from an organic. This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to create it, and here we go. Not really being in a space of this is what it got to look like. This is how it's got to be set, and the way in which we've got to turn it out. You just did it based off of how you felt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's important for a lot of creators because a lot of people get in their head about, okay, let me read and do research on what it's supposed to look like
Right.
versus just jumping in there. I also really respect the fact that you talked about the evolution of the podcast and that you also took some constructive feedback and decided to implement it into your podcast, which again is another important piece of it. You start it how you want. You don't worry about that stuff, but you allow yourself to grow inside of it.
Yeah.
So that's really great that you were able to do that.
I also want to throw this in there too. Just listening to my wife, like, and switching the whole algorithm of things. My podcast actually got nominated for an award, and me and my wife would be going to Canada next month for the award ceremony.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
That's super dope. For sure, man. For sure. Your podcast cover topics like overcoming challenges and finding purpose, as you just mentioned. How do you decide on the themes and stories to explore in each episode?
I just relate to the people because a lot of people go through so much stuff in life, but they're afraid to speak on it. So that's why I come in and give them that hope. Like I've been through molestation, drug abuse, foster care, like houseless, homeless, and a lot of people can relate to this, but a lot of people are afraid of being judged. So that's why I come in and speak on it and give them hope. They was like, he can overcome this and still making it life I can too. So I just life, like people I've been around are basically what I go through. Everything I speak on, majority of the time, most of the time I went through it.
Yeah, man. And wow, it's so important that you do that work. And I don't think we consider enough how much our stories impact someone else and matter. A lot of folks are in this space of, yeah, I've been through all that, but what does it matter? Who's going to care? Who's going to listen? But damn, if you just open your mouth, there's so many people that can relate who experienced the same thing as you have.
Mhm.
And they feel isolated and alone until they hear a story and be like, damn, somebody else been through this too.
Right.
That means I can talk about it as well. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So, how does your belief and faith and spiritual growth influence the conversations and stories you share on the podcast?
That's a good question because, like in 2019, when I was a Christian, as we can say, but now I'm just spiritual. I follow the 42 laws of Mayet. And that's how I get all my downloads, bro. Like my podcasts are thin. I can just be sitting there. You know how something that's coming to your conscious and it hit you so hard, you be like, oh, I got to speak on it. And my spiritual team, my guidance, like they tell me what to say, how to say it, and when to end it. Like 33, that's my spiritual number. I got a 333. And like each episode, I ended at 33, whether it's 9 minutes, 33 seconds, whether it's 21 minutes, 33 seconds. They always tell me what to say and ended at 33. So it's just, man, it's a universal thing. It's just like a conscious thing. Like long as you align with your purpose, you always gonna be aligned. You always gonna be in the right
Yeah,
place at the right time.
yeah, man. That's what's up. That's what's up. And a lot of people who have gone through that evolution of spirituality, I started understanding Kemetic belief system when I was
Mm-hmm.
19 years old and got initiated, and even have it on my arm, the need of nine, and all of that good stuff. And so that was my first tattoo. So it's one of those things where going from that Christian belief system and then moving into a different belief system, some people find that hard and challenging to talk about
Mm-hmm.
because the popular opinion and the majority of belief systems. So to be able to be free enough to even share that is a disruption for a lot of people. So that's super important that you add that to what you do. And like you said, the downloads, man, the fact that you're allowing yourself to be guided and to be a conduit. Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah, that's why I like meditating and listen to a lot of meditation sounds. Because once you sit and meditate, whether you meditate and sleep, whether you sitting up or walking in nature, them downloads will come. You just gotta be attuned with the universe to hear it. Come
Yeah.
every day, all day. You just gotta be open to accept it.
Yeah, and then believe in yourself enough and believe in the guidance enough to say, okay, now let's go. Now I open my mouth. Now I speak.
Mm-hmm.
And to lay that down. Again, it's important work and it may not be for everyone, but the people that it's for, the people that get that and understand that, they're there. And they're waiting for people like yourself to show up and
Mm-hmm.
say, this is what's happening. This is how I'm getting the guidance to say what I need to say right now, because there are other people like that in this world, and there are other people who get that guidance but still don't know where to put it,
Right.
to have that expression and an outlet. So podcasting found you in that way for this to be that expression of what comes to you.
Yes.
Yeah, word up, man. You mentioned that starting your podcast gave your life purpose and helps you connect more deeply with others. So can you share a moment that solidified this transformation for you?
Man, like I got so many moments. Like I don't really look at the comments, but certain people comment like that touched me. Like for instance, I always like sharing this episode. Like my latest episode is called "The 42 Laws of My Head." I just want to put that out there. But I did an episode called Band Aid, right? Yeah, I know I come up with some crazy titles, but Band Aid is just when you a child, yeah, your mama say stop taking the Band Aid out so it can heal. But the whole thing of Band Aid is people always ripping the Band Aid off their past hurts, they past trauma. They can't never heal in the present or the future. They keep ripping the Band Aid off. And that inspired me because I used to be the same way. I used to think I'm really over something, but I'm really not because I'm still dwelling in it. But now my past is my past, bro. I can't change what happened in the past unless I find a time machine. But I can't change. I wouldn't want to change my past because my past made me who I am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's a book by Dr. Mangelo that says, "Wouldn't trade nothing for my journey." It makes us who we are. What doesn't
Mhm.
break us shapes the hell out of us. It teaches us who to be and how to be, and we can't compare it. I've had people say, "What would have happened if you didn't experience this and if you wasn't abused?" I don't know because I that's not my experience. All I can work with is the experience that I had and make something out of it. We're alchemists in that way. We're able to transmute that stuff
Mhm.
into what makes us powerful. So yeah, man, I just want to give you your flowers for being an alchemist,
Yeah.
saying I'm not letting the past dictate the future.
Mhm.
And your band-aid analogy is a lot like my you break your arm, and if you set it the wrong way, you're gonna have to get that shit broke again and restart again. It doesn't
Mhm.
heal until you start to heal it properly.
Right.
And so to be able to share that with people, again, socialize and constructed belief systems, we don't get it. And it's
Right.
like when somebody opens up their mouth and says, "Listen, this is my experience, and this is what changed my life," it opens up somebody else's eyes to say, maybe I can try that approach because the other shit I've been doing ain't been working.
Right. Like I ain't gonna lie, my podcasting was really my way to vent, but it's a therapy session. Like I don't really do therapy, but I'm not against nobody who do gotta go to therapy. But like my therapy is my wife. When I'm feeling emotion, I talk to her. But me coming on my podcast and speaking what I'm going through, that's my way to release what I'm going through. That's my therapy.
Yeah, yeah. And that is it's the healing power
Mhm.
of podcasting because it's finding the voice. It's being able to express the things that just gets caught up and swirl around in the head unless you get it
Yes,
out.
sir.
So it is very important. And again, just listening to you talk about this, my hope is that more of us get on this mic and share it. The listeners, all that stuff will come, but to get your inner world outside of
Come on
yourself
now.
is so important. Yeah, man. Yeah. So definitely, man, this is dope.
Oh
So,
man.
what feedback from listeners? And you talked about it. You said you get comments and stuff like that. But have you had any real interactions with any listeners that has been the most meaningful to you? And has it shaped your vision for your podcast? I know you spoke about your wife.
Yeah, I can just say my wife, man, she my inspiration. Like it don't matter if I don't get no likes or comments. I know she gonna always support me because she see the vision. That's why she wanted to become the co-host. She ain't never did no podcast before she met me,
Mhm.
but she see my vision. And she was like, I'll be your co-host. And I got a Seeking Knowledge Podcast YouTube channel. And me and her done did a couple lives on there together. And we done did lives, I mean, so many audios together. So like that's really my inspiration because I know that one day that my podcast, like not made for the award, but I know one day it's gonna get in the right hands to get sponsorships. And I told her, I'm gonna leave everything to you and my kids. I'm just gonna be the face. She gonna be the CEO, the COO. She gonna be everything because that's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, you have a strong partner in that, and that's what's up. Somebody that believes in you, supports you, and pushes you forward is everything. Congratulations, man, on finding that partner
Thank you.
that supports you and sees a vision with you. So you're author as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Yes, Dad, Where Is My Fish? And co-author of two upcoming books. How do you balance your storytelling and your writing and podcasting?
Man, look, I always share this with people. I work a 9 to 5. If you can get your job the time, why can't you get off and get your business the time? So you gotta be balanced. I tell people this, you gotta have something going on outside of it because if a job shut down or they lay you off or they relocate out of the country and you can't get there or they're gonna let you go and underpay everybody else. So I say you gotta have something going on outside of this. So my balance come in whether before I go to my 9 to 5 or when I get off, I still gotta give my business time. Because I know a job is just temporary and a business that's my future. That's what's gonna carry me, my wife and kids. That's the success we looking for, or it's gonna give us that financial freedom we need. I can be tired. I'm still gonna give my job some time, but I'm still gonna give my business time. It's all about balance. That's why I like Mayette. I'm gonna speak on it. Mayette, peace, harmony, balance. You gotta be balanced. Like whatever you're doing, you gotta have that balance. So if I can give this 9 to 5 that time, I'm gonna make sure I give my entrepreneurship time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And the fact that you are a creative, like through and through, being able to tell your stories, whether it's through writing or podcasting, that work is an extension of yourself, man. Whether people read your book and then find your podcast, or find your podcast and then read your books. It's important that all of this is an ecosystem of who you are,
Mm.
and really encouraging other creatives to say, you don't have to do one thing, you don't have to be one thing. However, it comes out, allow it, allow space for it.
Yes, sir. But I'm going to touch on a book like The Dad Where's My Fish. That's a children's book, and the main character name is Junior. And a lot of people ask me why I chose Junior. I'm a senior. I have a junior. I didn't want to put his name in there, so I'd be like, I'm gonna put Junior in it. A lot of my books are based off my life. Like my book from my first book, 2019, is on Amazon. From the Hood to the Church. It's a bio of what I overcame. Second book, it's an ebook, From the Hood to the Church and Mutated. Third book, Dad, Where Is My Fish? Can be found on Barnes and Noble. The fourth book, people want to get that, they can send me an email at seekingnowledgepodcast33@gmail.com. It's a children's book titled Diamond and the Baby Husky. It's a girl who found a husky, but I named it Diamond because I had a baby sister named Diamond. Just unfortunately not here with me. Like she was poisoned by her girlfriend. And that's why I named the book after her. But my fifth book that I worked on, I published it, is called From the Hood to the Church Part 2, Why I Chose Spirituality Over Religion. And I'm bringing people into my journey now, yoga, meditation. So basically everything I do is centered around my life. Be
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah, and it's important because your story, it's possibility for others, and that the hardships can be overcome. We get to keep choosing life, keep choosing to be here, to show up, and to say, that happened, but what's next? Who can I
Yeah.
be? Despite of it, not because of it. And so it is really important that you're telling these stories. And it's more than the story, it's more than the creativity. It's work that needs to be out here. Absolutely. So, how does your background as a foster child and your lived experiences shape the stories you tell?
That's a good question because, like, foster care is what really was started all my trauma. Like, I was raised by my great auntie Carol, rest her soul, but the backdrop, my birth mama left me in the hospital. And I like to share this, like she left me in the hospital. I was born a certified crack baby from the 80s, baby. You know how they went down. But my mama wanted to abort me. So my great auntie, she raised me. She did the best she could. But at the age of 8, I was placed in foster care, and that's what all my trauma started. That's what my suicide thoughts started. Like I even tried to commit suicide because there was so much going on. I didn't want to be here, so I started hanging in the streets. And my foster care experience, like why I started hanging in the streets, there wasn't no love there. My foster mom was on drugs. She stole my money. She whooped me for almost anything. I was treated unfairly. Like she treated me and my brother and them way different from she treated her own kids. So it was on really no love in her. Then we getting all these checks. And I can share this because like it happened yesterday. As a warden of the state, they pay you to house their kid. She taking the money, going on a boat, gambling with it, buying drugs with it. So I felt like only love I had when I started hanging in the streets. Gang related. Started hanging around wrong people. Got in trouble. A couple weed charges, trespassing charges. It's just life, man. Like that's the card I was dealt because I feel like there wasn't no love there. So how I tied it into my experience with podcasting, I know a lot of people are going through, like my wife, she went through foster care. That's why we meant for each other. We can relate to each other. She went through foster care. I went through foster care. And I know as people listen to my podcast who are going through foster care and probably experiencing it, don't get me wrong, it's people out there that really love these kids when they take them in their home. But it's also got the ones that's out there only do it for money. Unfortunately, I had the one that only did it for money. So I share my story when it comes to foster care experience because I know it's somebody who's going through this who want to check out, who want to commit suicide because that's how I felt like you take away from your family, whether it was a good reason or a bad reason. But 9 times out of 10, it's a bad reason. And you feel like they don't love you, there's no hope. You can't elevate from this. But I say this for everybody that's going to watch this, it's hope out there. It don't matter what you go through in life, whether it's foster care, whether it's being molested, whether it's drug abuse, it's hope out there. I overcame so much And the universe blessed me with a beautiful wife. I got 4 amazing children. You can overcome it. But foster care, it was just like a part of my journey. I had to go through it to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, man. So your vulnerability, DeMarcus, is front and center. And that's challenging for men and even for women who have experienced some really hardships. That guard is up and that fear of really sharing. But it seems like you've come to a point where you understand that vulnerability is actually power, it's empowerment. I don't got to hold this stuff inside of me and die slowly.
Right.
I can share it and be vulnerable and say the things that need to be said because as hard as it is, as difficult as it is, I am not alone in the world of people who have dealt with hardships and dealt with the same exact circumstances. There are going to be differences, but the similarities are what relates us. But also for people who've been through it and for people who are going through it right now, that vulnerability is so powerful, not only for the outside world, but for
Mm.
yourself. So, what role has that vulnerability played in connecting with your audience through both the podcast and the writing?
They like me because I'm authentic. Like a lot of people don't accept that I can share what I went through without being judged. But I say this: a lot of people that study hold a lot of stuff in and want to share it. That mean they not healed from it. I can share my stuff because I'm healed from it, and that's why people rock with me. The ones that do, because they was like, he's vulnerable, he's authentic. He don't mind sharing what he go through to help everybody else. Because I tell everybody, your story is not just for you. Your story is for somebody else. So that's why my audience, like I have listeners all the way in Japan, bro, in Africa, like all over, because they can relate. Like it don't matter where you at. It's the same story. People can relate. So I just like being vulnerable and being authentic because I want to relate to the people. I want to be truthful to them and not hide anything. Because a lot of people that do podcasts, like they don't share everything. They don't share what they go through. They just show all the glitter and the gold, but they don't speak on what they had to go through to get here. So I invite people in both sides on where I'm like, this is what I went through and this is where I'm at now.
Yeah, and the fact that it's documented, you've put it down, you've laid the record through Seeking Knowledge podcast from how you started, what it sounded like from our beginning conversation, that you were just in your healing process, in your let me get this out. And that probably was very challenging and
Mhm.
difficult because this is your first time really doing that, except for the writing. But now you're here and to have somebody share journey of life and this evolution, you've put it down on an audio in a way that people can actually witness
Mhm.
that evolution and that healing process of being able to speak it out loud.
Tell me, I gotta be that voice, man. Look, I still gonna be like 70 years old, still podcast, because it's a way to connect with the people. Even if you're not around them physically, you can connect with them mentally, emotionally, because they was like, wow, whoever this brother is, whoever the sister is, they are actually going through what I'm going through right now, or they went through what I'm going through now. So it is hope out there because they sharing their story. Yeah, that's how I look at it, man. Like this, my podcast is my way to vent in therapy, but it's for somebody else.
Yeah. So your biggest podcast win is creating a platform that inspires and uplifts others. Can you share any specific story or guest experience that had a profound impact on you?
Oh, I had so many guests. Like I'm gonna go to the YouTube channel, and this interview was recent. I don't like to say interview. Like my wife said, stop calling it interview. Say inspirational conversation because every time you talk with somebody, y'all have an inspiring conversation. Shout out to my wife. I love her. She always very supportive. But I interviewed Larry Smith. He's a returning guest, and he turned his book into a movie called The Other Side of Ecstasy. And why his story inspired me because he's vulnerable like me. He shared how somebody gave him some bad ecstasy and it had him going crazy. He overcame a lot like me. And he's a newlywed like me. He inspired me because he had to go through A to get to B. And he inspired me on the other note to, okay, I can turn my story into a movie. He inspired me to write the script because I've been wanting to do it since 2019. And he inspired me like his movie actually in nomination for an award as well. Inspired me. Other side, somebody gave him some bad ecstasy, threw him off. He wanted to poison his own mama. Going through all that, he still kept his faith. I don't judge nobody what they belief is, but he got some type of faith that he following. and he overcame. Like his story of overcoming, man. Then he inspired me
Yeah.
to turn my life into a movie.
Yeah, there's still further to go. There's still more to be, do, and have, and to know that out of all that you've created, there's still an opportunity to do something different, do something more, to share it in different ways. That's so important. Like I said, that's the creator's duty. That's the creator's opportunity to continue to share and express in whatever medium there is. And I'm grateful that you chose podcasting because that gives us this opportunity. But to see you even go even further, that's a great thing, man. That means that there's this continuation of evolving and becoming.
If
Yeah,
I want to never put my pride to the side and call you on the Owl app, because I love the Owl app, and that's how we met. And I was like, look, let me call this brother. Like, I love podcasters, bro, because they are sharing their story. When you a podcast, you're using your creativity. So if it wasn't for me calling you on the
yeah.
Owl app and following you on LinkedIn, bro, I would never be here on your platform, bro. So that's why I say I'm grateful for you just accepting my invitation, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. Of course, and I'm so glad that we're connected now because once we're connected, we get to
Yes,
stay connected
sir.
and do bigger and better things, for sure. So, what challenges have you faced while building seeking knowledge, and how have they shaped you as a
That's
creator?
I love answering this question because the challenges I face by most is don't do your podcast. You don't know what you're gonna say. You're not gonna touch people. I'm not gonna say their names, but it's so many people told me to stop podcasting. And a lot of the people that told me to stop podcasting, like you said, they still on season one. They still not dropping gems like me. And I look at it like this. If I would have listened to them naysayers or listened to that doubt, my podcast would never got nominated for an award. Yeah, I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
and Will
yeah,
Baptiste, you probably talked to someone on our app. He's the one that called me on the our app one early rise, and it's like, bro, it's people in Canada like your podcast, bro. They nominate you for this award, bro. But if I
wow,
gave up, I wouldn't be at this moment now in my life to keep going, bro. A lot of people told me to stop,
yeah,
don't do it,
yeah,
bro. You don't know what you're doing. You're not gonna reach nobody. People are not gonna listen to you. Listeners outside of the United States, bro. Just cause I just kept going and
yeah.
closed my ears.
Yeah, man. There's so many people out here that are unconvinced that things are possible. Anything is possible. And anything you put effort towards is going to move forward.
Mhm.
There is no failure in creation. And so when we push forward, people don't know. They have no clue. And so they project their bullshit on us.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And never start. They stay on the sidelines while we're in the game. And all they got is the commentation
Um,
on what's going on inside the game. So again, man, kudos to you for saying, all
yeah,
right, watch
that made
this.
me stop.
Yeah.
They just made me go even harder, bro. That's why I used to put out something every day and let them know that y'all, I'm not gonna stop podcasting.
Word, word. Congratulations, man, on choosing you and pushing forward because the reward is there. And it's not just about the award, but that's amazing. Again, that's an amazing affirmation of the work that you've done. But for yourself, man, for your listeners, that's the
Yes,
reward.
sir.
I want to just wrap this up. Your advice: you're not a failure when you fall, you're a failure when you fall and stay down. How can creators apply this mindset to their podcasting journey?
Because like when it comes to podcasting, everything is not gonna be perfect. You might drop an episode that don't get one comment. But did you fail? No, you just gotta learn that lesson. So if you just, cause a lot of people that have a bad experience podcast, they just give up with anything, just give up. That's when you fail, when you just give up. But like I said, my podcast so authentic. Like you might hear me tongue twist a word, but I'm gonna keep going because I want people to know that I'm not perfect. So a lot of people that do podcasts, they can probably, that's why a lot of them ain't going. They feel like I failed because I didn't get the listen or I didn't get the support. But I tell y'all, look, just keep going. You gonna find your niche. Just keep going. You're not a failure. I say even if you don't, if you slow down a little bit, don't stop.
Yeah. And we want more people to understand that podcasting is a creator space. And so even if you decided you don't want to do seeking knowledge anymore, you don't have to leave podcasting. You just create something else, right? Or as you've done, change the format, change the approach, continue to evolve the same
Mm,
work, but allow people to see that growth. What else are you doing otherwise? If we're not growing, we're dying. So the opportunity is to continue to evolve yourself, and the work that you're putting out there. So yeah, man, I love that. When someone who wants to start a podcast feels overwhelmed, what's the first step you recommend?
I tell them, look, you don't gotta start with a lot of money. Everybody wanna get the microphones. They'll come. They want to get the podcast studio. They want to be like, why I ain't getting the kid? I'm just throwing some ET now.
Yeah.
I record on my phone. Like my audio podcast, I use it was called Anchor 9 Spotify for podcasts. The reason I like doing an audio podcast because people can listen to it while they drive it. Or for instance, you can record while you in the park, while you in your car, have it on your lunch break. It's many times I recorded on my lunch break. Like you don't have need that money to start. And it's never the perfect time to start until you start. Start from your phone. Use the Spotify podcast app. Use Buzzsprout. It's platforms out there where you don't gotta put up no money to start. But once you get to the point where you get monetized, which I'm close to getting at, that's when if you want that studio, get the microphone, get everything. Because I got a whole microphone and camera over there. But I don't use it yet because I see the vision. Once I relocate, I'm gonna have a whole studio. But I said,
Yeah, man. And I really love the freedom in which you came about this all. Like, whatever it looked like. That's the problem that most folks get into. They get caught in the how part. And that how will stop you before you start every damn time.
exactly
Just start.
right.
That's how you go. That's how you finish. That's how you evolve is the starting point. And whatever it looks like, get it
Mm-hmm.
done. So you doing that, sharing this, even for the folks who are listening to this, it's important because it liberates them from all the mental stuff that's keeping them from stepping on the mic and just doing
And
it.
I want to share this. Like a lot of people, some people use editor. They edit the stuff out. Everybody think a podcast is perfect. No, they make it perfect by editing a lot of stuff out. And me, I'm just gonna be authentic. You gonna hear my mistakes. You gonna hear my flaws. But at the same time, you still gonna get the message.
Word up. And speaking of money, man, I want to talk about your desire, right, for sponsorship. So you're currently seeking sponsorship for your podcast. What would you say to potential sponsors about why seeking knowledge is worth
Because
supporting?
it's relatable. People can relate to my message. They can understand my journey and it can give them hope. Man, like I know it's my signature be a household name, but people can relate to what I go through. It's not fake. It's not watered down. If you want to know about February 33, DeMarcus Brewster, listen to my podcast.
And how do you envision growing your platform and what role do you see sponsorship playing in that
As
growth?
far as me like growing it, like I plan
Yeah.
on this has been one of my goals for longest. Do on the road interviews. I'm finna go on vacations. I'm married. I might just go into a restaurant one day and talk to the owner. Look, the food was amazing. It's good customer service. I would love to bring you on my platform to share just to get you more business. So that's one of the goals, man, to do on the road interviews.
Okay.
And hopefully by
All
me
right, man.
doing that, people be like, I love his energy. They want like, what? I'm gonna sponsor your podcast.
Yeah. All right, man, for sure. And of course, anything that myself or Afros and Audio, our community can do to support those goals, even help in the direction and the pitching of that, we got you, bro.
Man,
We're here
appreciate
for
it,
that
bro.
because this is important work. There are so many opportunities, foster care systems and group home systems that really could use the opportunity to listen to the work that you've done. And those can be very niched opportunities for you as well. Organizations, nonprofits that work with young people, that this work could be really instrumental for. And yeah, we get to think outside of just like you've done with the work already, the creativity, also in getting the money and the monetization. There are other aspects that you can look towards that don't have to be the company, right? Or the Spotify or the big sponsorship. There are so many ways to be innovative in getting that. So that's what's up, man. Holla at me. We're
Yes,
gonna figure this
sir.
out.
It's great, bro. Thank you once again for just bringing me into your world, bro.
No, no doubt, no doubt, man. So is there anything else before you let people know where to find you, how to listen to the podcast, and where to find you online? Is there anything else you want to leave with the
I just
people?
want to look, keep going, man. Like, no matter how the situation might look, whether you podcast or writing books, whether you're an entrepreneur, Whether you are, man, I don't know, a spiritual teacher, whatever you do in life, man, you gonna have them days where everything is not peaches and cream. But I just say keep going. Like everything you go through life, it's a lesson. I don't say wins and losses. I say wins and lessons because all your people that get like a loss, but you can like it's a lesson. Like what can I learn from this? Why did this happen? Was it they fault or my fault? And 9 times out of 10, it might be your fault. So you just really got to grow through it.
Yeah, man. That's emotional intelligence 101. We got to know how we contribute and be active participants in the life that we do want and the life that we don't
Yeah.
want. Listen to the work that you're doing. I know that folks are relating and getting it on a base level, and that's what makes the work and Seeking Knowledge podcast so important. So I just want to encourage
Thank
you to
you.
keep going because it's necessary. Thank you, man, for being here. Let people know how they can listen to, watch, and find you online.
Well, if you listen to the audio podcast, Seeking Knowledge, it's on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. You just type in Seeking Knowledge, or you can type in my name, DeMarcus Brewster. And for the YouTube channel, it's called Seeking Knowledge YouTube. And you can follow me on Facebook, DeMarcus Brewster. I'm on LinkedIn. That's DeMarcus Brewster. And that's how you can find me. Look, I just want to say this too. I gotta share this, bro. For all y'all that's tuning into this, I met this brother on the OWL app. So that's another platform I can be on. If you want to do a consulting call, you can reach me on the OWL app. You can download the OWL app, use my referral. It's OWWLL. You put my referral code in, Brewster, you get $10 credit to your account, and you can just call me on the OWL app. If you want to be a guest on my podcast, want me to come on your podcast, you just want me to inspire you, hit me up on the OWL app.
Word up and shout out to Al
Yes,
and
sir.
Jason. They were vendors at the sixth annual Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. We really appreciate their support. And like DeMarcus said, it is a really great app for connection. So yeah, shout out to Al.
No
So thanks
problem,
again,
man.
man. It was great to talk to you, get to know you a little bit better, and let's do
Sir,
work.
man, blessings, bro. Appreciate it.